In this guide, I'm going to teach every single one of you watching how to absolutely dismantle teams playing Jett, from map by map positions to attack pathing that is guaranteed to help you rank up. I'm going to start with the fundamentals like knowing when to pop your dash, then go over entry pathing and some Jett specific defense plays. But first, let me introduce myself. My name's Ika, and I've been Immortal 3 since quite literally the beta of Valorant Ranked. Now, this isn't my proudest achievement, but it at least gives me claim to teach you guys how to play Jett effectively. If Ruhujin can be hardstuck Ascent 3 and give people advice, I can be hardstuck Immortal 3 and do it too. As always, timestamps to all of the sections of the video in the description below. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first, let's start off with the very basics of Jett's kit, all 4 of her abilities. Mostly dash though, because that's the most important ability we have here. So, when you dash in a straight line without jumping, no movement keys, just forward, you go a set distance, and it's not very far, like at all. Like, this will maybe save you if you're taking a fight like here. But you see, even I did it there instinctively. You want to jump before you dash because you get so much more distance. You can also see I'm turning while I'm dashing. What this allows you to do is to check angles as you're entering. So if I'm coming to front sight here, I'm about to dash into my smoke there, I can check all of that while I'm dashing into my smoke. This is insanely important because you are essentially a living server drone. And if not for your teammates, for yourself. Now, when do you actually prep your dash? This is a problem that a lot of players struggle with because there's only so much time you have in this window before it runs out or before you don't get it back in the round if you don't get 2 kills. So how do we avoid this and make the most out of that timing window? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. All you have to do is wait for the sound or contact or just that kind of knowledge that you're going to swing an angle on your head. You know, when you're going to peek someone, you're pre-aiming it, like, I'm going to swing this angle to prep your dash, because that's when it's useful. Because you use dash to keep yourself safe. So anytime you're swinging an angle or you're entering a site and you know that you could be taking a fight and could be traded essentially being when an enemy player kills you after you kill one of their teammates. Think of it like taking pawns in chess. So how do we avoid this? Well, we have our dash up, we kill that guy, and we can dash out instantly. This is a really annoying way to play Jett for the enemy team. It like denies them their ability to equalize the round at all. And if you're a player that struggles with getting traded a lot, then it's just a really effective way to use your dash. The other time where you should be prepping your dash is when you're about to enter a site, but not before you know you're going to go in. A lot of players will pop their dash like at the start of the round thinking they're going to enter the site instantly. By the time their teammates have used all their util, and by the time their recon site, flashed, etc., your dash is gone and you have nowhere to use it. So the way to avoid this is to only prop your dash when you're 100% certain you're going to go out. Like literally as you're exiting, because the time to activate it isn't that long. But don't be afraid to use your dash. If you feel like you need to use your dash, you should use your dash. I'd rather that you play around and use your dash and it doesn't get that much value than you play around and you don't use your dash at all. Then we also have using Jett's updraft and then dash and updraft. There's 2 different combinations, right? Which ability you do first. If you do dash updraft, this is not so good for getting on top of objects, as you can see. Instead, what I would be using dash updraft 4 is for taking fights with knives, because you're propelling yourself forward and then going upwards and it's throwing people's aim off. When you updraft, after you updraft, you actually pull out your knives or your gun faster than when you're dashing. But if you just straight dash, it takes a while to pull your gun out. Compared to this, your gun's out like while you're in the air. People aren't really going to be hitting you until you land, so it's a lot more effective. And then updraft dash is just really good for entering because you get the entire boost. You want to jump before you updraft so you get as much as possible, and then the dash after. You see, it's way easier to hit this than it is to hit this. I still did it, but you're lower to the ground here. That's pretty much it for dash and updraft. There isn't really too much to these abilities, especially since they removed Jett's second updraft, which is a shame. And the only thing that's left to talk about is knives and smoke. Now, knives are really interesting because there is actually a lot you can do with them. I've already spoken about how updrafting actually pulls your knives out faster, which means you can shoot instead of being stuck in this kind of animation. The knives still got pulled out, but it's way too slow. But peeking with knives is actually really important because you're completely accurate. And I want you to envision yourself as the player you're peeking right now, aiming against a Jett. How many times have you been swung by a Jett that's completely one-tapping you before you've even seen them? It's one of the reasons why you can't be mad when you die to knives, is because they're able to run. And this is why you can't run in tactical FPS games, because it's completely broken. So you can see, you can shoot like this while you're running, you're fully accurate, you can jiggle and shoot, and the enemy player won't be able to react in time. No one has a reaction time fast enough. If they're playing away from this angle, not on an off angle, just straight on the angle, they're playing away from this angle, no one has a reaction time to actually hit you unless they're pre-firing. You can also jump peek, like jump spotting, so unless they're holding for the jump spot, they're not going to be able to kill you. And you can even throw in a hover peek. Now, this is something I saw Icebox do a lot in VCT, especially in the year when they won champs, was he will often jump peek, and if he sees a player, or if he already knows a player's there, he'll commit to a fight while hovering. So he's jumping and fighting in the air, which throws off their aim a lot. If you think everyone aims at headshot height, and Jett's hitbox is different, it's like wider and like more compressed, and then she's already above it in the air, and she's hovering, so she stays there. So you can't just wait for it to drop. It becomes a problem for people aiming, especially if you're in a chaotic situation when you're entering a site or you're trading a teammate. This is just incredibly hard to hit. And that's what I want you to focus on when you're using knives. Try to make yourself as hard to hit as possible. One thing that I like to do a lot with knives as well is just straight running. Like just running as fast as you can, like you're playing Overwatch. Lastly, smokes. You do usually want to dash into your smoke when you're entering site. A cool thing you can do with smokes in general, I don't see people doing this enough, is that you can isolate angles. Because if you think of it like a dome like this, I can take the angle there, the players there can't see me. Well, the same here, I can take that fight, that guy can't see me. It's weird to think about because it doesn't seem like it should be the case. But when you play against good Jetts, you'll realize this is the thing they actually do, and it does work. And it can get you some pretty free kills if you play it correctly. You can also curve your smokes, which means you can put them in specific positions if you need to cover a teammate while they're planting or defusing the bomb. You can also one-way areas, so if someone swings top nest here, they're going to be completely blind by my smoke. Same here. That one's a bit high, but you get the point. And just overall, Jett smokes are really good as a defensive tool to get yourself out of situations that you probably shouldn't be to begin with. That's it for the absolute basics of Jett. So now I'm going to go talk about the attack side and attack pathing, and after that I'm going to talk about defense side, AWPing, and aggressive defensive plays you can take. Now, something that people often talk about when playing Jett, especially on attack, is the idea that she creates space by using her dash. Now, people don't actually explain what that even means, so I'm going to. Space is a term usually used on attack, but it's a general concept. It's divided into 3 zones, the first being your starting space, which is what you load into the round with, the second being neutral space, the space that you can't access before the spawn barriers go down, and the third being enemy space, which is the space the enemy team spawns into the round with. Making space can be as simple as walking into it to as complicated as fighting through it using a combination of utility, like dogs, drones, flashes, and stuns, but most importantly for this video, duelist movement abilities, or Jett dash. What does taking space actually do? Well, it creates pressure on the enemy team to fight you, usually at a disadvantage considering that defenders' numbers are spread out across the map, which means you get to plant the bomb, and planting the bomb acts as flipping attack into defense, which creates a retake. Retaking, or a retake, is the act of taking back space, but in a common defense scenario. So, if that didn't make sense to you, it simply is Jett walk forward, Jett dash, Jett take space. So how do you actually make space? Well, first, you need to make sure you don't die instantly. Which means, assuming in most of your ranked games that there's going to be a Killjoy or a Cypher, on attack you're going to be running into a few issues. How do we deal with this? Well, I'm going to give you the easy option, because the hard option requires communicating to your teammates, and that's using your updraft. Especially on maps like Ascent, where there's high ground to jump up to, there's entry pathing you can do, where you can jump over the trips, and essentially get onto the site and kill the player that's anchoring the site. They even have a chance to kill you by using the trips or kill your teammates. So a really good example of this and is the updraft dash into a smoke on this box. And you fight Dice, and then you can fight Gen. This is really good because a lot of Cypher players will be playing Gen or under. And if not, it basically gives your team like so much space that they can walk out and take fights freely, assuming that they're not stacked on the site. Combined with the flash or a recon, then this will just win you rounds straight up. You can win rounds, and I'd say like pretty much from Iron all the way to Ascendant by just rinse repeating these kinds of pathings and executes. Once you have that space, you have two options as a duelist. Either you can take more space, or you can fight with your life to defend that space. So a lot of duelist players, after they get this first fight, will take the timing that they have, knowing that the enemy team is rotating and there might not be anyone in heaven, to take more space in to get a really good fight, while the enemy team doesn't know that you're walking up here. I see Aspas does this a lot. Some players might not, because they might be fine with the 5v4 advantage. But it all depends on what you see and what you know. And this is something you're going to develop with time. Sometimes pushing into their spawn is actually the right play. And that's pretty much it for the attack side of this guide. I'm going to run through some really classic, or maybe not classic, but at least the entries that I use on all of the maps to help you get a grasp of what you can be doing in order to make taking space easier for yourself on site executes.
Blocking sight. 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 Here. Blocking sight. 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 Careful. Blocking sight. Blocking sight. Blocking sight. Blocking sight. Blocking sight.
Now onto the last section of the video, it's how to play Jett on defense. Generally, Jett on defense is a thin line between playing aggressively and playing defensively, and the best Jetts in the world traverse this with basically no issues at all. So on most maps, Jett likes to play, especially in the starting rounds of defense, like an early rotator. The reason for this is because with your dash, you're able to take first contacts and take fights safely. So, for example, let's say if I start hovering or jump spotting mid and my teammates call there's a rusher, I can hear because they don't talk to me that there's a rush going on at A. I can run over all the way to A and my teammates will be hiding on site and they're going to come out of main. I can take first contact with my dash. I can take fights and I can dash away safely, and that way I can impact the round with no negative side effects for myself or for my teammates and easily get some kills and swing the round in our favor. This is probably the easiest way to play Jett. It's going to be hard for players to flush you out of corners anyway, because even if they droned you out mid, you were playing, let's say that you started mid and you were playing a bit deeper, you were playing holding this angle, and they droned you out Pete's and you're stuck here, they've used all of this utility, maybe they're shock darting you, they're mollying you, they want to kill you, you can just dash out, and then you can come back to safety and you can play with your team. Really good way to play Jett. This works on any map that has a mid, or any map that plays weak side and strong side. So for instance, bind. If you don't know what weak side and strong side is, essentially weak side is the side with less players on a bomb site. Usually on bind, this is B, which means Jett will start A if you're playing double duelist Jett raise, and she might try to take first contact on A. If she can't get it, she'll move to B, take first contact on B. There are also some really specific aggressive plays that you can take that only Jett can do. Only Jett and maybe Reyna can do this. So for instance, on A main, you can go really wide here and you can pop your dash when you hear sound. You can get your kills and you can dash out to safety, even if you don't get kills. You can also re-swing. If you were jiggling here, you can re-swing with a flash or something like that. When you get your dash back up, it's more kills that you can dash back out again. Same thing applies for playing cat. Same thing applies for playing B main. You can sit here and hold this angle, and then you can dash out after you get your kills. It's really simple. It works pretty much every single time, especially if you're on like any elo below Immortal. Just playing these really deep off angles with your dash and then getting out is the easiest way to get value from Jett aggressively if your team is struggling with defending site holds or they're dying early. The other thing that's really important on defense is the operator. Some of you might not like playing this because you think it's cringe, but trust me, if you're playing Jett and you're not using the operator, you are losing most of your value on defense. I'm sure I don't have to explain, but the reason is because with an op, if you have a dash, if you hit the shot or if you miss, you can get out to safety easily. This means you can't be traded at all. You're untradeable. The round already starts from the bat in 5v4, which is like an innate advantage in every single way, especially if you get a good kill on like a smokes player. It basically means the round is won. And because Jett has pretty much no use other than her dash, like her only job would be to op, she gets first priority over anywhere she wants to be. So she can rotate first, you can do whatever. You can excuse yourself because you're the player with the operator, you're the one that's getting the kills, right? So let's say that I take a shot on B, I get killed and I dash away. But I know that the enemy team has been playing kind of slow this map. They're not likely to rush B still. In fact, they've cut all of their noise. So what am I going to do? I'm going to run all the way to the other side of the map, to A site, and here, I'm going to go hold A main. If I want, I could even go deep into A main. Let's say that I have a KO, I can ask my KO for a flash. And KO, can you flash over for me? I can walk in, I can take the deep angle, and then they're going to rotate into me. I kill them again. Well, what the fuck? Jett's cheating. How did they know that they were coming to the bomb site? It's easy, right? Because when you see an operator, you want to go to the other side of the map. Jett's really good at this. This is pretty much like her bread and butter, right? This is just how you play the agent. And especially if you're struggling in lower elos and you don't really know how to get yourself out of these situations with Jett, but you find yourself with the op money, I want you to buy it. I need you, I implore you to buy this gun, because this will win you so many rounds just by scaring the enemy team. I mean, think about it. You're like an unkillable one-shotting machine. Like, what are they going to do? There's so many different angles you can take, especially on a map like Ascent. The most common one probably is this angle here on short. But you can also peek out early with your dash here and take that kill and leave. Really easy to do. Will piss everyone on the enemy team off. There's this one you can hold on top mid for the jump spot. If you're in lower elos, you don't even need to hold up here. You can just hold here. Get your kill and you can leave. You can even walk out mid all the way to tile. This is a really good angle here. And if they're going B but it's slow, you can peek here. Take your shot. You can recock your gun and then re-peek again. And the craziest part about this is that you're safe from the entirety of top mid because of this piece of like metal here. So if you need to get out, you can do this easy, and then you can come and you can re-peek top mid. It's as simple as that. And I feel a lot of players, especially the lower levels of the game, they completely overcomplicate not only how you're supposed to play Jett, but how you're supposed to play the game in general. At the end of the day, it's a shooter. If you can get yourself in the position to get the kill and get out, you're going to win the game. Which is why it does feel kind of cheap for some people to use the operator. But it exists in the game for a reason. And if you want to master it, you need to use everything that you have to your disposal. That's why you can even use the judge. I use the judge all the time. Maybe more so on Raze than Jett, because Jett doesn't have the second updraft and the instant dash anymore. But you can take some close angles and you can updraft dash into people. And stuff's pretty free. It's pretty easy. Defense is your playground. Defense is where the magic happens. You can swing through smokes with your dash. Like the best example of this is here on market. If they're executing B, maybe you hear the drone and then you hear the Jett dash. You can swing out wide. You can kill them while they're leaving main and dash back before anyone can trade you. Stuff like that. It's just being unpredictable. It's being fast. It's using your dash to be evasive. Dash exists to help you be a nuisance, so you need to use it like that. That's not to say that you can't dash into people. Maybe you're on fire, maybe you got a game where you have 20 kills. It takes people off guard. It can be used both ways, but I want you to use it more evasively first to master it before you start dashing into places like your Genji, because that requires more thinking than it looks like. Whereas playing it evasively is really consistent, and there's not really any coin flippy stuff or things you have to consider before you do it. You just do it. So, with all that in mind, hopefully you're now better equipped to become an insane Jett player. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if there's anything you didn't understand, you can comment it down below, and I'll be happy to respond. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.